Hey there, and welcome to What a Feminist Looks Like, a channel where I discuss fashion and feminism in terms of different cultural icons, movements, and fashion trends, starting from the 1830s all the way to the present day. Let's begin. Now, before we can get into the different fashion trends and icons of the 1830s and 1840s, such as bloomers or corsets, we have to discuss the overarching theme, the dress reform movement. So, when did this movement start? I have an answer for that. This started around the 1850s and ended around the early 1900s. There is no clear start or end date for this movement because it's been so far debated that no one can agree upon it, and then B, because it is a movement. It was created by a series of events, and then it just ended because it faded out of style and other movements kind of rose in popularity and that one decreased in popularity. Next question. What is the dress reform movement? As Kathleen Torrens of the University of Rhode Island sees it, the dress reform movement struck one of the fundamental structures of society, clothing. Women in the dress reform movement wanted to change the way that clothing was for women in the 1830s and the 1840s and onward so that it reflected their rights in society and their importance in society. Women in this movement believed that it did not currently do that, and so in order to change it, they had to reform the clothing that women wore. Context. So the dress reform movement occurred in a time in American history where the cult of domesticity, also called the cult of true womanhood, was the social norm. So, or at least the social expectation, I should put it. This, as Barbara Walters, a renowned women's history scholar, defines it, is where women were expected to be at home and were judged by their husbands, their work at home, and by society. And there were four cardinal virtues that they had to uphold/have: piety, purity, submissiveness, and domesticity. So far we have had the bread of the sandwich, little cheese, little mayo. Now we're going to get to the meat, lettuce, and tomato. So the dress reform movement consisted mainly of white women, but anyone from any class or race could join it. Their goal was to change social norms so that women could wear different types of clothing, thus have more equal rights to men through changes in their clothing. One way that this came about was through the Dress Reform Association. It existed from 1855 to 1865. It had annual conventions in New York where leaders would have kind of a kumbaya with members from the association and movement. If you wanted to be a member, you didn't have to be from any particular class or race. All you did was pay a membership fee and sign a piece of paper that acknowledged you had the same ideas and kind of feelings towards the movement and association as it did itself. Lastly, the association had publications in the Sibyl and Lily, which spread its ideas throughout the United States, which the movement did not. So, Bronwyn, what's the broader importance of this movement? Who really cares about it? Well, me, obviously, for starters, but also you should as well, because it has to do with fashion and feminism. Reason 1. This is one of the first, or at least early on, movements where fashion and feminism are clearly linked together. Reason 2. This is a movement. It's not just one woman saying society is unfair, it's not treating her right, or it's misjudging her. It is an active group of women wanting to reform the clothing that they wear and thus the society they are in to treat them better, because they saw how the clothing that they wore affected their status in society. Which I do today as well. If I wear one thing or another, it changes how people look at me, or even perceive who I am, my status, my wealth, etc. That is a wrap. Thank you so much for watching this video, I really appreciate it. Now, if you haven't seen my previous video where I tell you about why I'm doing this, I highly suggest that you watch it. I also suggest that you subscribe to this channel. Thank you again for watching, and stay tuned for more. I'm Bronwyn, and this is What a Feminist Looks Like.